Good evening, my beautiful butterflies and fly guys. Listen, I know you're ready to get into tonight's discussion. So without pause, let's get to it. This week, I want to discuss the 2022 Oscars award ceremony. And no, I don't want to talk about Will and Chris because I think we've heard enough about that and how that incident, in my opinion, overshadowed everything else that occurred that night. So instead of talking about what a phenomenal job Will Packer did in directing the show, at first, mind you, for a person of color, or Questlove's win for a Best Documentary Feature, after directing the equally phenomenal Summer of Soul. How amazing is that? That a drummer can go from a hip-hop group and go on from that to win an Oscar, not for music or for hip-hop, but for directing a documentary. But instead of discussing that, we were forced into that discussion. There were other conversations that could be had, even down to the eventful interviews on the red carpet. Listen, that's a perfect segue into one particular interview that will act as our reference point tonight for our topic of discussion. If they have to ask you what you're wearing, all right? So go ahead and listen, tell Lottie Dottie and everybody that we are live, all right? Are you ready, AB? All right, let's get it. Hit it. Yeah, in the building. All right. Seems like we're having some tech. All right. We're back. Listen, I know we're having a few difficulties here on tonight, but we're going to get to this conversation. So, as I was saying before, I think it just boils down in the Will versus Chris argument. People that are still discussing whether they are Team Will or Chris. But if you're like me, you have moved on from that discussion to something else. You see, for me, depending upon which of the two you favor, right? Which you favor. Which one is your favorite out of the two? It's really normally the side that you land upon. I mean, how can they go from that to this? I don't know. But nevertheless, I simply can't give any more energy to that discussion. Because, listen, it has actually placed family members on opposite sides. And if we are not careful, that discussion can ruin some relationships. And at the end of it all, people will remember not why it happened, but that it happened. Therefore, tonight, we are putting that behind us and moving on to what we all love, and that is fashion. Remember, this is HeSpoke Fashion, and I am your host, Daylon. And this is the platform where we discuss all things fashion, women's fashion in particular, from a man's perspective. And interestingly enough, there was a lot of fashion on display during the Oscars, as well as on the red carpet. But there was an incident that took place on the red carpet involving an interview with none other than actress-comedian Tiffany Haddish. What amazes me is that if you think about it, most of what is being discussed about the Oscars has nothing to do with the Oscars. Imagine that. But Tiffany was being interviewed by Entertainment Tonight. A reporter, I believe her name was Laura Zima, on the red carpet. And so let's take a look at this clip, and we will be right back after this. All right?
Do a little costume change?
I'm not wearing a costume. I'm wearing Dolce & Gabbana. It's called an evening gown, darling. This is not, no one's paying me for this. I paid for it. It's custom. Thank you.
Time of death for me right now. You look gorgeous.
This is not an acting gig. This is my life. This what fame look like. This what success look like. This what money look like. This what it look like. It's what it.
Do a little costume.
All right, so I don't know if you heard the interviewer, but she asked Tiffany if she had a costume change, if she did a costume change. The reason is because the outfit on Tiffany, it does look a bit Snow White-ish or Cinderella-ish, in my opinion. But the question, in my opinion, was also in bad taste. So the question remains, and the topic of our discussion, if they have to ask you, what you're wearing, what are they really trying to say? So let's take a look at another clip of an event that occurred where someone's clothing was also called into question. And we'll be right back after this.
You're gonna buy me a coat?
I'm just wondering what you're wearing.
Bro, I wear my own coat, man. Whoa, what's wrong? You're gonna buy me a coat?
Sometimes, mate, if people are trying to hide things or wear baggy clothes, try and cover it up.
Listen, are you gonna buy me a coat? You buy me a new coat right now, I'll give you this coat right now.
I'm asking what you're wearing.
You're gonna buy me a new coat?
We don't want your coat. We're asking why you're wearing it. You're not dressed for
Because
the
I wear anything I want, man. I wear anything I want. What's wrong with you?
You're not dressed for the climate, so it's very.
What do you mean the climate? Who tells me? No, who tells me how to dress, man? Can you tell me how to dress?
No, it just seems.
Can you tell me how to dress?
It just seems like, mate, I'm just.
Nah, man, don't ever talk to me.
We're going to be detaining you.
Yeah, go on. Do whatever you wanna do.
All right, so in this clip, you see that this young man, his name was Eric Botang Taylor. was approached by the police in a place called Croydon, I think that's in the UK, and they accused him of not dressing appropriately. Again, they were stopping this young man because of what he was wearing. Now, why is that important? Why is it that in 2022, people are still being questioned because of what they are wearing? I'll tell you why. And it's simply because what you wear tells people something about you. The gentleman wearing a heavy coat in the springtime weather says something about him. And unfortunately, we need to make note that if you don't want the label, then don't wear the label.
Bruh.
What does that mean exactly? Well, let's talk about Exhibit A, Tiffany Haddish, for a moment, shall we? So Tiffany Haddish, in another interview with Extra, the first one was with Entertainment Tonight, this one was with Extra, and she stated that she was wearing, watch this, God's panties. Now, I must admit, that is funny. And it says something about her that she is able to make light of the question instead of being offended like so many of us in common day would. But that comment also says something about her. First of all, let me just shed a bit of light on this. It was rumored that she brought a 23-year-old as a date for the Oscars. And that's him right there. A rapper, Pooch. It is being alleged that, again, the date was none other than a Stallionaires rapper. I don't even know who the Stallionaires are, but nevertheless, by the name of Pooch was her date. And it is very telling that after Tiffany dumped Common, and then she changed her fashion, she is now dating younger, and I might add, less accomplished men. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, I've never heard of Pooch the rapper. Have you? Come on, put it in the chat if you heard of Pooch. Have you ever noticed that women who date younger men normally tend to dress more youthful? And the same goes for men who date younger women. Come on. We've all seen Willie Earl when he comes into the restaurant with this much younger young lady, right? Willie Earl is always trying to, he's security tonight, right? Always trying to dress a bit younger. But again, in my humble opinion, what you wear tells people something about you, whether it is what you want to say or not. Did you catch that? What you wear tells something about you. But when I mentioned earlier about not wearing a label, if you don't want to be labeled as such, remains true and has given way to an entirely new meaning in 2022. Why? Because of labels and how we label each other and how everything now has to have a label. It is no longer about what or who you are, but about how you are labeled. And so what I really want to talk about tonight is how we have simply become so addicted to labels. At one time, questions concerning what you're wearing were simply relegated solely to red carpet interviews. But now that has changed to everyday life. And in addition, the brands and people wearing them have also changed. You know, there was a time when brands would only be known not by their labels because they weren't interested in showing them, but by their quality. You remember during the days of old, you would have to guess or just wonder who the brand was. But now most of the brands are noticeable because they have their names in plain view, normally in large letters. You see those brands. You're familiar with them. Just the other day, someone told me, shout out to Jonathan Campbell, but that Hugo Boss, whose staple was their suits, no longer had suits allocated in a particular location. Why? Because this change to want to have the name, the label be more visible, or this label-driven society has also given rise to the change in the types of clothing these brands produce. Did you get that? This change in design brought about what I call the dressing down of America. Come on, put that in the chat if you agree with me that America has become less dressed and more dressed down, or not dressed at all. And again, the dressing down of America. And you know, as America goes, so goes the rest of the world. And so we're seeing more people dress down and down and down. But brands like this one, as I said, with whom I worked for numerous years, has now changed. And you see more of the labels. And of course, when you have more labels, listen, I'm telling you, there is a drastic change. Even in the men's clothing, as I said before, less suits, more jackets and jeans and t-shirts even. And even other brands like this one. I'm sure you're familiar with Fendi. And you want now to wear Fendi because everyone is going to know that you're wearing Fendi, because we're now becoming label driven. And even other brands like this one, Christian Dior, changed more just to show off their label, their logo. This is where we are now in our society. Look at Riri, looks wonderful, but the labels are there. And my question to you is, how much are you willing to pay for denim? And there aren't but so many ways you can place a logo on a t-shirt. But yet and still, it is still a t-shirt. How much are you willing to pay for your favorite bag? Not because it actually holds what you need it to hold, but simply because of the label. I suppose only time will tell. But listen, it's time to bring this conversation to a close. And I've really enjoyed you all on tonight. And I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. But I want to leave you with this. Remember in Tiffany's interview, when she was challenged by the question of, did she do a costume change? You recall what she said? She named the label, which was Dolce & Gabbana. And then she proceeded to say, this is what fame looks like. This is what success looks like. And then finally, this is what money looks like. Really, Tiffany? Is that what it looks like? You see, it is my belief that if the only way someone can tell your success is by what you are wearing, then we are in trouble. I would rather know that I am successful because of the accomplishments I have achieved than what I am wearing or driving. And at the same time, I do want to look good doing it. What about you? I hope that when you are asked what you are wearing, your response is indicative to who you are and not what you have on. My objective tonight was simple, and that was to simply use both Tiffany Haddish and Eric Boateng Taylor as examples of what it means to be asked what you are wearing, simply in hopes of offering another perspective to how you should respond. If what you wear says something about you, and it does, By the way, then, your fashion truly does speak for you, even when you remain silent. Listen, before we go, I want to take this time to remind you of the HeSpoke Fashion One Spring Day Party coming to the beautiful city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Listen, you simply don't want to miss this event as we celebrate our viewers there in the city, as well as honoring those community heroes in the area. If you like comedy, live music, and a host of other surprises, then you simply don't want to miss this event. The tickets are between $20 and $25, and they can be purchased at Eventbrite. So go now and get your ticket, because this will sell out soon, and we don't want you to miss out. Again, May 7th is when we're coming to Fayetteville, North Carolina. Make sure you go to Eventbrite and make sure you get your tickets, please. Again, we don't want you to miss out on this event. All right? Great. Well, listen, that's all I have for you tonight. I thank you for joining us and bearing with us. But I want you to have a good night, good fashion, and remember, HeSpoke Fashion to you. Hit the like button and the subscribe button, and remember, fashion changes, and so can you. All right? Good night. Yeah, in the building.